Welcome back, the Z-Enforcers Origin Stories podcast.
All right, so get this. We're diving deep into these Z-Enforcers, specifically two of them that are rivals.
Okay.
Allonyss and Shiy.
Oh, wow.
And honestly, I'm already hooked just from like the YouTube videos and stuff that you sent over. Specifically two of them that are rivals.
Oh, wow.
Right.
So
These Z-Enforcers, they're this team of like 8 unseen superheroes.
Yeah.
And they're like battling for our very souls.
Exactly. They're the champions of human conscience.
Yeah.
Constantly battling against the Scorch Force, which is like all of our worst impulses, you know?
Yeah.
All the darkest sides of ourselves.
So it's like good versus evil, but in our heads.
Exactly. And the crazy part is, it's not happening out in the open. Like, we don't see it. It's all happening within us, in our feelings, our thoughts, even our everyday choices.
So we're like the battleground.
We are the battleground, and we don't even know it.
That's intense.
It is a very intense battle.
So let's talk about these rivals, Allonyss and Shiy. What I find really interesting is that they're not just like opposites in terms of good versus evil, but they have like totally different personalities.
Absolutely. It's not just about what they fight for, but how they fight.
Yeah.
You know, and that really comes out in their personalities.
Okay.
Take Allonyss. She's the enforcer of mercy and compassion. She's described as this powerhouse, witty, funny figure. She's like, if you could imagine a superhero who's also a total kitchen diva, loves cooking up a storm for her team, that's Allonyss.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Exactly. A really good combination.
Yeah, that's awesome. But how does someone so compassionate go up against like a force, like the Scorch Force? I mean, isn't that like bringing a hug to a knife fight?
That's a great question, and that's what makes her so fascinating.
Okay.
Her compassion isn't a weakness. It's a source of strength.
Mm.
You see, Allonyss believes in understanding, in seeing the world through other people's eyes before she judges someone you know. She helps them to understand, you know, the situations, the motivations that might have led them down a certain path.
So instead of just punching out the bad guys, she's trying to understand them.
Exactly. She's fighting for their redemption in a way.
Yeah.
You know, as much as she's fighting for our protection.
That's pretty deep. And like we said before, she's a world champion kickboxer, so she can clearly throw down.
Oh, absolutely. She can handle herself.
Yeah.
Her backstory is pretty incredible, too. You know, she moved from Tennessee to Memphis when she was just 14. And she ended up helping her apartment landlord, this older gentleman named Mr. Joe Chong. And he kind of became her mentor. Wow. Taught her self-defense after she was bullied.
Oh, wow.
So you think about that. She turned a really negative experience into an opportunity to learn and grow, both physically and mentally.
So it really makes sense why they call her the Enforcer of Mercy. It's like she's not just fighting against evil, she's fighting for something.
Yes.
Like understanding and compassion, second chances.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you wonder if like we all have a little bit of Allonyss in us, you know?
I think we do. I think that's a great point. Yeah. But now let's switch gears a little bit and talk about her nemesis, Shiy.
Okay.
The enforcer of ridicule.
Oh.
And as you might guess, her style is a little less sunshine and rainbows.
From what I've read, she's all about like tearing people down, you know, preying on their insecurities.
Yes. She thrives on that humiliation and degradation, discrediting others, chipping away at their self-esteem.
It's like she gets stronger by making people feel bad about themselves.
Exactly. And there's a purpose to it.
Okay.
Shiy harvests negative energy. It fuels her power. So she's like a dark mirror to Allonyss, you know?
Yeah.
Showing us how destructive negativity can be if we let it take root.
So it's not enough for her to win. She wants her opponents to feel completely worthless.
Yes, she wants to completely break them down.
And this whole negativity harvesting thing, it's pretty scary. It's like she's a psychic vampire feeding off of our self-doubt and anger.
That's a really good way to put it. And it makes you think, you know, if these forces are battling for our minds, are we unknowingly giving Shiy more power, you know?
Oh.
Every time we get sucked into negativity, every time we put ourselves down, judge others harshly, you know, get caught in a spiral of anger and resentment, are we feeding her?
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's a scary thought.
It is, but tell me more about Shiy. Like, what's her backstory? How did she become the queen of negativity?
Well, she wasn't always on the dark side.
Okay.
She was an army brat stationed in Thailand with her sergeant father.
Okay.
And get this, from the age of 7.
7.
She was trained in Thai boxing by Kato Lee, a friend of her father.
7 years old. That's intense.
It is. And she became a champion at that age, never losing a single battle.
Wow.
Until she met Allonyss.
Oh, so their rivalry goes way back.
It does, way back.
Even before, like, the whole Z-Enforcers, Scorch Force thing.
Exactly, even before they join their respective forces.
That explains why their fights are so legendary.
Exactly, they have a long history. A lot of baggage there.
Yeah, so Shiy joined the Scorch Force because she believed in their ideology, like their dark spirit. And I'm guessing after her first encounter with Allonyss in the national championship in Zootonia, America.
Oh, yeah, that was a tough one for her.
It was a draw which broke her undefeated streak.
It did, and that really solidified her, turn towards the dark side.
Wow, I bet that really stung.
I'm sure it did.
So it was more than just a physical fight, right?
Absolutely. It was a clash of philosophies.
Yeah.
How they approached life competition, everything.
And this draw, it wasn't just like a random draw.
No, it wasn't.
Allonyss actually gained points for good sportsmanship.
She did.
Which probably just like made Shiy even angrier.
Oh, yeah. That's the kind of thing that would just eat away at Shiy.
I would eat away at me.
Yeah.
So we've got this compassionate champion versus the queen of negativity.
Mm-hmm.
Both incredibly skilled fighters with a history that goes way beyond just a philosophical difference.
It's a deep rivalry.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate showdown between like light and darkness, but with roundhouse kicks and psychic powers.
And that's just the beginning. There's so much more to this rivalry.
I can't wait to hear it. But before we get too far ahead, let's take a closer look at this rivalry.
Okay.
Their first match ended in a draw.
Right.
But then they had a rematch in Thailand.
They did.
What happened there? Did she finally get her revenge?
Well, she did in a sense. The rematch in Thailand also ended in a draw, but she was declared the victor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, based on some very specific rules of Thai boxing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I bet it wasn't enough to truly satisfy her, though.
No, I don't think so. She always wants more. It's not just about winning or losing at this point. It's about proving a point.
Okay.
It's like they're each fighting for the validation of their entire worldview.
It's like their whole philosophy on life is at stake.
Exactly.
So Shiy, with her focus on ridicule and negativity, wants to prove that her approach is the most effective.
Yeah, the compassion is a weakness ultimately.
Right.
All that stuff.
And Allonyss, with her mercy and empathy, wants to show that there's another way.
Yes.
That even in the face of darkness, kindness and understanding can prevail.
Yes, exactly. And it's almost like they're representing these two fundamental forces.
Yeah.
That are constantly at play both in the world around us and within ourselves.
So this brings us back to that idea of the human conscience being the battleground.
Yes. It all comes back to us.
These fights between Allonyss and Shiy are metaphors for the internal struggles that we all face.
Exactly. We all have that Shiy and Allonyss inside of us.
Do we give in to those voices of negativity and self-doubt? Do we lash out at others trying to tear them down, or do we choose compassion, understanding, forgiveness?
Those are the big questions.
Yeah, this is deep.
It is.
I'm really starting to see the whole depth of this whole Z-Enforcers concept. It's not just about fantastical battles and superpowers. It's about the choices we make every single day.
That's the power of these stories. They make us think.
We started with two cool characters, Allonyss and Shiy.
Right.
And we ended up exploring the nature of good and evil, the power of our choices.
It's all connected.
The unseen forces that shape our world.
And it doesn't have to end here. You can keep exploring these ideas.
Yeah.
Think about the Z-Enforcers and the Scorch Force, not just as fictional characters, but as metaphors for the forces at play within each of us.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this.
Okay.
Think about Allonyss and Shiy. Think about their powers, their motivations, their struggles. Which force resonates with you more?
Yeah.
Are you the champion of mercy, fighting to uplift and empower those around you?
Good question.
Or do you find yourself drawn to the allure of negativity, tempted to tear others down?
It's a choice we all have to make.
The choice, as always, is yours.